Okay, so to start us off, today we're going to be learning about emotional intelligence. I always like to start any course with a little mindfulness. And so after going over learning objectives, we'll move into just a 5-minute grounding sequence. The cool thing about mindfulness is that we know that when we move our emotional state into parasympathetic. In parasympathetic, our emotional and space, our regulation is just calm and peaceful, and that's actually where we learn. We can absorb more information and process and problem solve when our parasympathetic is regulated. So we'll do that next after this. But after that, I'm going to move into just what the heck is emotional intelligence anyway. We're going to go into how it helps us understand ourselves and move through our day, notice how we are with others. And then I'm going to go into some brain science because that's pretty cool. So we'll see how the efficacy plays out with emotional intelligence. All right, Desiree, let's go to the next one. Okay, so you're welcome to mute yourself. Everyone has, except for Desiree, and you can close off your screen if that feels comfortable. I'm going to leave my screen on, and I'm just going to lead us now through a short 5-minute mindfulness. And just go ahead and get yourself comfortable into the place that you are now. And we're going to begin just by taking a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you breathe, just settling into the space that you are now, allowing yourself to just get comfortable where you are. And with the next breath, filling up the belly. And I want you to pull that energy in the belly up, up, up to the top of your head and hold that breath at the crown and release. And again, taking another deep belly breath and pulling that air up through your chest, up through your throat, to the crown of your head, and hold and release. And again, one more big belly breath, pulling that energy up, up, up to the crown of your head and hold. And release that energy now to your eyes. And with that breath, allowing your eyes to just roll back into their sockets, letting go of any little muscles, and just allowing your eyebrow to relax, feel calm. Taking a deep breath in, sending this next breath now down to your jaw. And with that breath, allowing your jaw to just let go. And just inviting the rest of your face to settle into your neck, feel calm. Taking a deep breath in, sending this next breath now to your shoulders. And with that breath, allowing your shoulders to just let go. And just allowing your arms to hang heavy. Letting your arms feel the weight, maybe rest into your lap. And just inviting any stress you might have in your body to just move to your shoulders, or down to your elbows, down to your wrists, and just allowing that stress to just disappear from your fingertips. Taking a deep breath in, Sending this next breath now to your heart area. And with that breath, allowing for more spaciousness around your heart. And just noticing your lungs, breathing in, breathing out. And focusing into your heart area. Inviting an intention for yourself. Maybe a word. Something that will serve you to either today or this week. And that word could be anything from courage to clarity, to creativity, to calm, to love, or even peace. And so just allowing thinking parts to relax and seeing what intention comes to you. And then repeating silently to yourself that you are that word or words. So if the word is peace, repeating silently, I am peace, I am peace, I am peace. Good. And taking a deep breath in. Sending this next breath now down to your sit bones. And with that breath, allowing your sit bones to just root into your chair, allowing your legs to feel heavy and weighted and root down to the bottoms of your feet, allowing the bottoms of your feet to feel the floor, and just noticing that your lower body is feeling weighted, foundational, and stable. And with the stability, noticing that your upper body is feeling light and relaxed. And if you were a tree, you could bend, you could move, you could allow any storm or any stress to just blow past you without attaching to it, without the need to control it or even judge it. And so we're just going to hold in this feeling of not only feeling stable and secure at the lower part of your body, but also feeling relaxed and light, the flexible mind. So we're going to hold here for just 30 seconds. Good. And taking a deep breath in. We're going to move back into the here and now. So just allowing yourself to maybe just wiggle your toes and fingers, maybe dropping your neck and rolling. And we're going to come back slowly in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, welcome back. All right, just checking in. How was that for folks? What did you notice?
I thought it was very nice. I haven't done anything like that for a while, and I think I better start doing it every day.
Thanks for sharing, Sally. Yeah, so just 5 minutes is really helpful and just like grounding in, noticing breath, and just focusing in on your inner body. Just quiets the mind. Anyone else notice anything? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Sally. Oh, did you want to say one more thing?
Well, the thing that I thought was so cool was thinking of my fingertips as letting stress drain out of my body through my fingertips. I really liked that.
Uh, oh, thanks for that feedback. Appreciate it. Gosh, now I have too much light in here. I'm just gonna close my drapes real quick. I'm getting blasted here in Missoula. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay. All right. Well, moving on. Desiree, let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. So, what the heck is emotional intelligence anyway? I'm sure everyone knows these pieces. We're actually, as babies, born with the ability to perceive and understand and also use emotion to convey what's going on for us internally. It's also our capacity to just recognize what's happening with us on the internal level. And then, just like walking into a room and being able to notice what's happening in the room with other people, that ability is really helpful through moving through your day, in your work situations, with your kids or family members. And so emotional intelligence is just something that we know how to do and we do it all the time, but it's not always something we're conscious of. Oftentimes we move into the default space of a reaction to something. And oftentimes when that happens, and everyone does it, it happens in life. It often can move into feelings and emotions that don't serve us as well. But the cool thing about emotions is that no emotion is bad. They're all just giving us feedback for what's happening within our system. And it's really helpful to know sometimes when you're feeling angry. It's really helpful to know when you're annoyed, and that's giving you feedback about what's happening with you in your internal self. All right. Desiree, let's go to the next one. Okay, so emotions. Who has seen this wheel before? We have a couple counselors in the room, so I'm sure this is probably something you have up in your offices. But this is a feelings wheel. And as you can see, it has our base emotions in the center. And as counselors, we're trained at knowing the breadth of all these emotions. And so oftentimes, anger is an emotion that moves into these other realms. And you can see there's angry, mad, humiliated, all the way down to feeling numb and indignant. Um, Getting in tune with your emotional landscape is really helpful in understanding what's going on for you. So, one question I like to ask often is, what do you notice that you're activating for yourself on a regular basis? What do you notice which emotion is sort of driving you throughout your day? And we know that our thoughts are linked to our emotions. So, another thing to notice is your thought. What are your thought patterns? What are thoughts that are oftentimes the case happening for you in the situation? And what are the patterns that play out? And so we know that any thought is connected to an emotion, and that's within your system. It's actually in your body. And this is helpful if you are interested in getting one of these. They're just online. You can just Google a feelings wheel and have that to check in with yourself. All right, Desiree, let's go ahead to the next one. I'm noticing a chat, so I'm just going to check it real quick. Um, Oh, thanks, Brittany. Brittany just gave a little feedback on the mindfulness and said it's hard to believe that was only 5 minutes, but it was very relaxing. Thanks, Brittany. Okay. So getting back to, what I just chatted about just a second ago, um, our emotional well-being is dictated by the way we feel inside. And so noticing how your thoughts are connected to your feelings is really helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, many of us are just very unconscious to what's happening for us internally. And so it's pretty interesting to think about the idea of every thought you think literally has like an invisible thread connecting to a feeling or an emotion. And that feeling and emotion, it's housed within your body. And it makes sense, right? Like if you're starting to feel teary or sad, that is actually in your system. And, you can notice like where the sadness is in your body. And then, oftentimes people, their eyes start to swell or they start to feel teary. And that is the thought, the emotion, and then the response within your system coming forward. And so it's really neat to kind of figure out, where's joy in my body? Or where does expectation live? Where are some of the emotions that I may not activate for myself on a regular basis? And noticing where those might be in your body. And it's always helpful to notice where they are because you can kind of do this pattern backwards. You can activate the feeling within your body and notice what thoughts come forward for you. But we know that these are all connected to the end result, which is behavior. And so, yeah, what are people noticing and looking at this diagram and just hearing about thoughts and feelings and body? And I know some of you work with people with kids and are probably aware of this idea, but I would just love to see what people are noticing and what comes up for them as they look at this diagram. All right. Well, oh, go ahead, Sally. I see you just unmuted.
Well, I just thought I'd say something. My thoughts don't always serve me. I mean, you have a question there. What, whether your thoughts serve you, and mine often don't. And
Mm,
this is kind of new to me, so I'm looking at that going, But
yeah.
yeah, I guess, yeah, I think you'll probably get into more about all this, but
Yeah. Definitely. Gosh, thank you so much for speaking up, Sally. And just, I mean, there's so much risk and vulnerability and with sharing and saying something in regards to this. So thank you with that. Yeah. And it's true. Like, I just want to normalize that piece that for most people, our thoughts, they don't serve us. We will have a thought that's, it's not really helpful. It may be about ourselves or whatever. And it usually activates an emotion within ourselves that doesn't feel as good. And so, we know that through psychology that most people repeat the same thoughts almost 85% of the time. And so it takes a real effort and it's like a new muscle in activating new thoughts that serve you. And because we just fall back into the same patterns. I see a chat from Brittany. And yeah, she said, I think of CBT when I see this diagram. Totally. Yeah. So for those that don't know, CBT is a modality it's actually a theory in counseling that counselors use to help people change behaviors. And so CBT stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. And all of us counselors are trained in it, and it's really helpful because when you start recognizing what your thoughts are and your feelings and how that leads to behavior, that's where change can happen. But it's a slow process. We just have so many thought patterns that are built up within our brain that we just easily fall back into that pattern that it takes a while for change. Thanks so much for sharing. All right, Desiree, why don't we go ahead to the next one? Okay. Okay, cool. So this is a video and it's kind of definitely about how our brains and how when we think, what happens inside. And so I'm going to get a little bit more into the science of emotions and with synapses. But something to consider is this amazing modality and this thought that they found that within research, when someone thinks one thought for more than like 30 seconds, that synapses within your brain will form. And whatever that thought is, after 30 seconds, a like-minded synapses will form and connect to it. And so if you're thinking thoughts that are pretty positive, that's kind of rad because you're creating these synapses within your brain and they are just like these easy railroad systems that you can get into and ride. But if you notice that your brain patterns are maybe a little bit more on the negative side, or you're falling more into judgment or whatever it is, and you think that thought for more than 30 seconds, well, then a like-minded thought is just going to attach to it and it's just going to build on that. And so this is a little bit about the science. Okay, Desiree, why don't you go ahead and run that? I think you just push it, push play. Hopefully it works. I wonder if this is one that we needed to download beforehand. Let's see. It might be. Okay, let me.
Hold on. We can do.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna do this. And let's give this.
Let's say you're struggling to put pen.
Neurons communicate with each other.
Oh, that's great.
We can hear it throughout your body, empowering all of your thoughts and actions. Neurons talk to each other using both electrical and chemical signals. Messages start as electrical signals traveling rapidly down a neuron. These signals are called action potentials. When they reach the gap between two neurons, the messages need some help to get across. The information is transformed from an action potential into a chemical message, which crosses the gap called a synapse. The release of those chemical messengers can trigger an action potential in the neuron on the other side of the synapse, conveying the message onward. Or it can quiet the message. This happens over and over and over. And with repeated activity, the synapse gets stronger, so the next message is more likely to get through. That way, neurons learn to pass on important messages and ignore the rest. This is how our brains learn and adapt to an ever-changing world.
Nice. Thanks, Desiree. You can sneak out of there real quick. All right. So yeah, that's just a little sciencey piece within that. So noticing that what you think about leads to an emotional response within the brain, and that, yeah, this is just these synapses that are being created and moving through your system. So Desiree, is it okay if we go to the next slide? All right, so what to notice is, what are your emotional responses that you're activating for yourself every day? And what railroad are you getting onto? If you think of the synapses as a railroad, it's helpful to think about, well, you know, whatever I'm thinking about on a regular basis is creating an emotional reaction within myself. Noticing that that railroad is it's pretty deep if it's something that you think on a regular basis. And so the trick is, well, gosh, how the heck do I get off this railroad once I've already like activated this piece? And we know that through research and just learning through psychology and counseling that this can be a tough thing to do for people. But one trick and tool that people can use is pivoting right at the beginning. So if you notice that, you know what, when I have this thing happen, and this is called the antecedent. An antecedent is something, it's a situation before a trigger response. So if you notice that there's something that happens within my day, that I always get this like triggering response, an emotional response within my system, when you can pinpoint what that thing is, or the situation, or whatever that is really helpful to know. And so this is just one of the things in counseling that we do with our clients is, what do you notice in your day? Where are places that when you move through the day, something may happen and it may not feel good, and then you have a triggering response to that. And noticing just what the antecedent is or the situation is before the trigger is really helpful, because then, you know, in this situation, this is where I can get ahead of the situation with my own thoughts and feelings and try to pivot in a different way. And so oftentimes the way that you want to pivot is on the other end of the stick of the emotion. So, yeah, whatever that stick is, it could be frustration, it could be annoyance, it could be anger, it could be, you know, just that usual feeling of feeling negative. Noticing, yeah, when that happens, I usually just automatically move into this other thing. And so real power is moving into noticing where your trigger responses are and getting ahead of it. And the way to get ahead of it is just through awareness. And so awareness is part of that wheel of change. If there's any sort of change that you want to get within your own emotional intelligence for yourself, it's just becoming aware of what the situations are and then how you'd like to behave in a different way or feel a different way or think a different way. That CBT concept that Brittany was talking about. All right. Well, I'd love to put you guys into just a small breakout group. Maybe twos would work. I could be in one, Desiree. And hopefully people are still around. They might not be. But let's go ahead and move into a 5-minute breakout group. And the question with this is really, what do you notice that are ways or situations or just things throughout your week that could be a little bit triggering, or even that you notice an emotional response within yourself, and just in noticing that, and even if that feels a little too vulnerable, also just checking in about what you notice about learning so far in this class, and what's coming up for you, and noticing that. So maybe I'll just put that in the chat while Desiree's probably working on the on making rooms for us. Thank you, Desiree. What do you notice in learning?
How do we go into the chats then?
Desiree's gonna put you in a room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe with Brittany. Yeah, go ahead, Desiree.
Okay, as soon as you're ready, let me know. I'll hit the button.
Okay, and it'll just be 5 minutes. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm ready.
See. Okay.
Okay. All right, welcome back, everybody. Okay, so if you don't mind, I would love to just hear a little share out for, you know, what you notice and what is something that for you, you would like to share about what you were just in your breakout group with.
Yeah, Jen, I think we were kind of reflecting on, I work with kids up at Chief Charlo, and it's interesting to see some of the kids get on kind of like a bad train, if you will, that they're just so emotionally frustrated in a moment, and they don't even know that another train exists. You know, it's just like they're on that track, they want to stay on that track, and no matter what I do or they do, they just are like determined to stay on this negative, for lack of a better term, negative train. And it's tough to one, have them realize that there's another train available, and two, what are the interventions for them to essentially get on that train if we're using the train model. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think that train is a good representation I think I could use with my kids of like, hey, you're on a negative train, but there's 2 tracks here. So like there's a positive train going the other way. And what is it going to take for you to get on that positive train?
Yeah. And that's so, thanks for sharing that. Cause like kids sometimes they don't know how to shift. They don't know how to get on the other track. So, and I loved what you shared with us, and how sometimes you have to be the one to show them how to shift. And that's like what you said with the last kid, you like got him out to recess. He didn't want to go.
Just change of the scenery, go do something else, to not be so stuck in this, to still like you're in the baggage car of the train and it's dark and it's, it's musty and you don't want to be there anymore, bro. What do you got to do to get out of there? So getting some fresh air, getting some exercise, getting out there, moving your body, moving your brain, thinking about something else. And it was difficult for him to do, but once he got out there, you could kind of just see his effect change. So
Perfect. Thanks so much for sharing, Brandon. How about anyone else? Anyone else want to share what they noticed?
Well, I liked what Brandon just said. Sometimes those negative trains feel familiar and you kind of, I mean, it's what you know and what you have been doing. So even though you might know it's not good, it's like, well, it's kind of comfortable here or whatever. But I love that. I love that idea of the different train. Let's get on a different train on a different track.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember like the life stages that everyone goes through, and that with kids, they're at a different developmental life stage. So, adapting certain models to fit children, and children language is play. So that aspect of having them move their body, that's a good reminder that people learn differently.
Yeah, so true, Brittany. Like just knowing that we are all at different levels of emotional intelligence, and kids, they often need help. They need a little help with the pivot. Sometimes adults do too. So I know I needed a little help sometimes. So I just want to normalize that piece. All right, Desiree, why don't we jump back into the PowerPoint so we can stay on track. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is about how the brain works. And, for folks that are working with kids, this is pretty helpful. This is the hand model and knowing where the amygdala is within side of the brain. And so the idea is with kids is showing them the hand, showing them this is the stem, and the amygdala is the oldest part of the brain. It's our animal brain, and it's right in the middle. And so let's go ahead and move to the next slide, and we'll play that video real quick. Thanks so much, Desiree, for being my person that is doing the videoing. So appreciate you, Desiree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ever felt a big reaction to something and not known why? Here's a way to help you understand your brain and manage your behavior. The hand model of the brain. The bottom of your hand represents the brainstem and is involved with the automatic physical processes that keep us alive, like breathing and our heart rates. Your thumb is your limbic system, and with your brainstem forms part of your emotional brain. This helps you to manage and understand your feelings and stress responses. The outside of your hand and fingers are your cortex, or your thinking brain. When the thinking and emotional brain work together, it's easier to manage your emotions, talk with others, and problem solve. But if you feel surprised, unsafe, or scared, your emotional brain takes immediate action. It can act much faster without working with your thinking brain, so you flip your lid. If you're in real danger, acting fast can help keep you safe, and that's really important. And then when the danger has passed, your lid comes back on. Your thinking brain is back in control. But sometimes we flip our lids when we don't need to. How we think and behave isn't helpful. You can practice putting your lid back on by breathing slowly or by spending time with someone you trust. This tells your emotional, and it can work with your thinking brain again. Now your whole brain can help you manage your behavior and your feelings.
Thanks, Desiree. Yeah, so that's a helpful video to show kids about how if they have an emotional response within their system, just how that happens, they're flipping their lid. And so that part, that inner part, the limbic system, the amygdala is being activated. And so another couple of things I love about this video is that it kind of talks about a couple tools that you can use if you do have an emotional response. It's pretty big. One I heard was breathing. The other one was being with someone else. And then, I'm noticing Sally's with her pet right now. I see a little dog. And that is another really awesome way of helping yourself get regulated and helping your nervous system move back into a parasympathetic. As we know that our animals help us move into being in the present moment, helping us regulate our breathing. And also, it's just comforting because they just love us. It's so cool how much they love us. So, Sally, did you plan that to get your dog? And
Well, just a second here. I gotta, where? Oh, I have to unmute. Where am I here?
No, you're muted. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Uh-huh.
Well, she was just kind of restless and I accidentally woke her up, and then, so anyway, I've been dealing with her. I didn't know you could see me.
Oh, no.
No.
Well, it was
But
well timed. So
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
just
Oh,
another thing.
having a dog, holding a dog, laying on the floor with a dog, it's like one of the most relaxing things that I've ever done.
Mhm.
Yeah. You have to, yeah.
Thanks
I'm an
for sharing
animal
that
lover.
tool. Yeah, it's another way that we can help our brains shift out of that emotional response and move back into a more regulated response. Because animals just move us into the present moment, and we know that if we're focused in the present moment, that we're usually not anticipating or worried about the future or like feeling regret or looking back at the past. When we're in the present moment, that's where all our power is, and that's where we can like shift our thinking, because the brain, it doesn't actually know if you activate like worry about the future, the brain literally thinks that's happening right now. Or if you're thinking about or ruminating on something in the past and you're feeling an emotional response about, oh, something that someone did and this happened and that happened, that literally, your brain is so practical that it thinks it's happening right now in your body. And so you'll relive and feel the same feelings that you felt way back in the past. And so thanks, pets, for helping us move into the moment and helping us move into the now. So appreciate that, Sally. Okay, how are we doing on time? All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so just noticing so far, we've learned about emotional intelligence through the brain, and we know that when we do this, when we move into being aware of our emotional state, this helps our body regulate. It helps our breathing. We can have better communication with people we know. We feel more balanced in our system. And usually we feel a little bit more flexible with our responses. When you don't feel emotionally stable, the flexibility within neuroplasticity within the brain can feel fixed and like kind of, not I'm not moving from this place. And so we know that there's more flexibility when we're feeling balanced. Also, we have just like more understanding and empathy and compassion for others. This helps us all shift into like basically insight and awareness within a situation when we feel regulated. And this is just science too. We know that our intuition is really like it's on. And so you can trust your choices when your emotional wellness is being cared for. All right, let's go to the next slide. I want to stay on task with time. All right, so just a little review is, we did a little mindfulness to help us move into a more like relaxed emotional state, feeling a little more regulated. We went into a little bit about emotional intelligence and just like how when we know more about our own internal well-being, that we can help understand ourselves, and just a tiny bit of brain science. And so, yeah, let's go to the next slide. Because I always want to leave enough time for just like anything else that people want to share or what they noticed from this class. Yeah, what are people noticing that has been helpful, or is like a takeaway that you didn't know, or just something that was like, I actually know that and I kind of forgot it, or yeah, what's coming up for people just as we finish up today, move forward?
I mean, I would just say kind of the obvious, the train analogy was really good for me, the train track thing. I think that it's going to be really easy to use that with the kids, and just to have that visual, I'm just, thinking out of the box. You could even have like draw a train with negative emotions, draw a train with all the positive emotions. What do those feel like for you, and like really like trying to get that vocabulary, kind of like what Brittany was saying, is like kind of like getting those kids, because they are at different levels, but trying to get the language at least there first so that they can identify what train they're on. And then the next step would be to like those interventions of how you get to that other train. So just really like the train analogy.
Nice. Thanks so much for sharing, Brandon. Yeah, and I love how you incorporated that other piece of like with the five senses. We know that when we're teaching others, if you can incorporate another sense into understanding with the train analogy, and you brought up, hey, you could draw a train, you could draw the parts that are with that, and that's incorporating touch. And so, yeah, what a cool way to like bring that into a really cool intervention in the schools. Thanks for sharing. All right. What else do people notice?
Well, I just want to say that I'm going to be getting on the positive train every morning.
That's a great like intention, Sally, moving forward. Yeah, what would that look like? Just curious for like a morning train, like what would that be for you? And feeling, positive or activating, whatever it is, how you want to feel.
Well, I'd have to think about it, but just maybe, I mean, I wake up and lie in bed for a while and just say, today I'm on a positive path train, however you want to say, but in, setting that intention, not just kind of willy-nilly and not actually thinking about it, but actually thinking about it, setting that intention. This is what I'm doing today, not being at the mercy of my subconscious, I guess, or whatever. But
like intention. It's powerful.
Yeah. So
that's so
this has been great. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Sally. Yeah. And we know too that works. Like in the morning, even if you don't tune into like the news and all that, negativity coming your way, and maybe make a little more of a attunement with something that's softer. Studies show that if you cut out the news in the morning, that you just are attuned a little bit more to yourself and feeling a little softer in your system. I have a lot of little things I do in the morning to try to feel good for my day. I do in the morning, and it's like focusing in on my coffee and a little meditation, and just noticing too, like, what am I grateful for today? What are things that
Yeah.
I have in my life that wow, look at that. That's so nice, that piece or that piece or that piece. And that just always seems to move me into feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Like my emotional wellness feels pretty good when I tap into gratitude. All right, anything else?
I was just gonna add that I liked how you started out with the mindfulness activity, because I see it as something that takes a long time and is like 25 minutes, but I felt it comforting when it was only 5 minutes, and I just felt like it was a long time, but it was only like a short amount of short period. So
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Brandon, for coming. Those kids are so lucky they get you. Keep it up. All right. Brittany, thanks so much for sharing that piece. Yeah, about the mindfulness. And it's true, just 5 minutes. It's really powerful. So I believe Desiree added we love feedback. So if you have a moment to fill out that survey and let us know what we can improve on or what's been helpful or whatever, we want to get better. And I just want to thank Desiree for doing all the techie stuff all the way in Billings.
We did it.
So much. And thank you all for coming. I hope your day is just awesome.